This is the Fifth Estate Winning Headlines, your media police post, brought to you from the Fort Hall School of Government, coming to you from Nairobi, Kenya. In this segment, we summarize some of the headlines that you may have missed this morning. We also take a look at the political pieces that we call cartoons in this country. Today is the 21st of June 2022, and I am GK.
I am Serbia.
And I am AX. In case you missed the headlines, here they are. In the Daily Nation, there are pain points. In the Standard, myth of youth vote unmasked. In the Star, RUTO calls crisis talks to reconcile feuding partners. And in the People Daily, battle for 22 million voters begins. Now, before we touch the headlines, GK, why don't you get us started with your submission for the day?
Absolutely. Yesterday, while addressing residents of Joro, Deputy President William RUTO kicked members out of the media out of his meeting with the people because he wanted to discuss, quote, mambo ya maana. Here is the clip.
Mimi niko tayari. Na nilikuwa na nafasi. Yeah, nilikuwa na nafasi. These media houses, why do we have media houses here?
Now, this, by the way, is not the first time that the DP has shown contempt towards the media.
Yeah.
In fact, we have been gifted with several examples of his treatment of the media. When UDA held their NDC, the media were bundled out for unknown reasons. And then RUTO turns around and accuses the media of being biased, when he is denying them the very access that would even out their own coverage. So why is this a problem? It is a problem because of the role that media plays as the fourth estate. They are our eyes and they are our ears. As a result, the reporting that they do, whether or not it is evil or lazy, is integral to the process of democracy. It keeps elected politicians in check and holds them accountable for the actions that they commit. So what does it mean when a politician denies the media access, as RUTO did? Well, it means that democracy withers.
Yes.
Therefore, today I would like to ask just two questions. After all, a well thought out question reveals more than answers.
Yes.
So let's go. Question one. What is it that the DP can only say behind closed doors that the rest of the country cannot hear?
Good question.
Well, earlier this year, President Kenyatta held a public meeting with the members of the Gema community in Sagana. But understanding the importance of the moment before us and its potential implications, he opted to speak in front of the media and let the entire country hear his thoughts. But that is not all. Every Kenyan that isn't living under a rock understands the tense nature of our elections. We lose several lives every election cycle. Our economy freezes every 5 years.
Yeah.
Everyone understands how vital it is to be careful about what we say and how we choose to act. Choosing to kick the media out of a meeting discussing mambo ya maana displays tonal deafness to the state of our politics less than 2 months before the election. But perhaps it goes deeper than this. What if RUTO is co-opting the fourth estate for his own ends? And if this is the case, we must ask this question. If elected, is RUTO planning to use the mechanisms of democracy to institute authoritarian rule? What do I mean by this? The world over, strongmen leaders like Viktor Orban of Hungary have used the institution of freedom, like the media, to develop a state of intolerance.
Yes.
In fact, it is said that in Hungary, editors will tell journalists to disregard the facts in favor of Orban's narrative. Is this what RUTO is trying to do? Remember that Moi did the same, and that RUTO was student number index number 001 at the Moi School of Politics. What is our point here? Very simple. Maya Angelou once said, when someone shows you who they are, believe them. He or two.
You don't want to find out.
No.
Today, I want to reflect on this Sakaja saga. As you know, Sakaja may not have a degree, or maybe he does. But that's not the problem. The problem is that he wants to run for governor.
Absolutely.
And according to Section 22 of the Elections Act, gubernatorial candidates need to have a degree. And since we do not know whether Sakaja has a degree or not, we do not know if he's a viable candidate. And I believe that this will impact our election in two ways. One, the IEBC, and two, the middle class.
Okay.
Let me explain.
Please do.
The first is the IEBC. The fact that Sakaja was cleared before the existence of his degree was confirmed suggests that the IEBC was at best lenient and at worst negligent.
Yeah.
They saw it fit to clear Sakaja while dismissing petitions, citing lack of jurisdiction to probe his academic credentials, despite the Commission for University Education revoking recognition of his degree and DCI's inquiry into his alleged forgery. Talk of shifting goalposts. And yet, they revoked Walter Mungare, a presidential candidate, clearance to run after they had discovered new information regarding his academic qualifications. This application of the law suggests that IEBC is a law-end institution unto itself. And this is what got the 2017 election results nullified. Remember that the 2017 election was nullified because the IEBC failed to follow procedure. Specifically, Article 39(1)(c) of the Elections Act. And if elections are a process and not an event, how will this process be impacted by a candidate who fails to meet the minimum threshold to run?
Yes.
The second issue resulting from the Sakaja saga is Kenya's middle class. I say this because the middle class are the ones baying for Sakaja's blood in this fake degree saga. This is because Kenya's unemployment rate stands at 7%, and many of those are university graduates. Actually, more than a third of Kenya's youth with university degrees have no jobs. Meanwhile, Sakaja is able to ascend to political office without a degree. This irony will not be lost on the middle class, many of whom have degrees and raise them up as emblems of the middle class lifestyle. So the fact that Sakaja may have found work and risen through the ranks without a degree is a sore spot for Kenyans who have indebted themselves and sacrificed to get one. But will this anger be enough to get the middle class to vote against RUTO? We know that they might very well be the biggest stakeholders in the coming elections because they have something to lose. They are trying to figure out who will secure their interests. This is why they are most likely to form the 20% of the voters who are undecided according to Infotrack's latest polls. So will the Sakaja degree saga be enough to convince the middle class to vote against RUTO? Or will the blatant favoritism displayed by the IEBC be what will sway the voters? Clearly, IEBC has a favorite color, and that color is yellow. They are in charge of the rules, and it is clear that the rules of the game are being changed during the game. It is no longer a game when some play by one set of rules and others a different set of rules. Rules become meaningless, chaos ensue, and there is no game. In 2013 and 2017, the law was still the same about degree requirements for elective positions. And Sakaja knew this, yet we are still baffled as to why he has never bothered to qualify. Was it laziness or hubris? Did Sakaja believe that he could really cheat the system? If he did, I expect nothing less from a man who voted for a bill mandating degrees for professionals in the IC sector, all the while knowing that he does not have a degree, allegedly. In the end, the question to the middle class is this: will you allow someone to cheat the system on your watch? As for me and my house, I submit that if we let an incompetent leader vie, we will run the risk of allowing mediocrity and a low-caliber retrogressive leadership at the helm. If we fail to recognize the laws and maintain the standards set, we will create bigger problems. And it is clear to all which faction is failing to meet their qualifications. Therefore, the ball is in your court, IEBC.
Oh, laying down of the gauntlet.
Well put.
Today, I would like to talk about bargains, and my thoughts are inspired by the candidacy of none other than Professor George Wajakoya. His promise to legalize cannabis and pursue snake farming as means of raising government revenue have dominated the media and attracted thousands of youth to his side. But what is receiving far less attention is his promise to suspend the constitution for 6 months in the first 100 days of his presidency and rule by decree. In fact, one cannot understand his promise to legalize bangi without recognizing his intention to suspend the constitution, because this represents a Faustian bargain. A Faustian bargain is better known as a deal with the devil. It is a pact whereby a person trades something of supreme moral or spiritual importance, such as personal values or the soul, for some worldly or material benefits such as knowledge, power, or riches. And the 2022 presidential election is full of Faustian bargains. 2 of the 4 presidential candidates and their platforms, for example, Wajakoya and RUTO, can be characterized as Faustian bargains. For Wajakoya, we trade our constitution for cannabis. With William Ruto, we trade our hard-won second liberation gains for grand economic promises without the means to implement them. Put simply, and to reiterate, 2 of the 4 presidential candidates are running on a platform of Moism without moi. And yet the country has looked the other way and embraced the sweet nothings of their populism, ignoring the harsh reality of their authoritarianism, and as a result, they have dismissed the only liberation candidate, Raila, as a state project. And I can't help but wonder why. Why are Kenyans more enamored by the Faustian bargains of two candidates than the earnest vision of a liberation hero? Part of the answer is the deep frustration with the existing political establishment, and this frustration justifies people's willful ignorance. But if indeed people are frustrated, then why are people turning to two men born into, molded by, and nurtured through the system, of course, Wajakoya and RUTO? Only Odinga's Azimio has crafted a coherent political ideology and program to underpin the fourth and final phase of Kenya's Vision 2030 and develop Kenya Vision 2063 as a successor for our economic plans. Only Odinga has offered a concrete and implementable answer for how we shall address corruption.
Absolutely.
And only the Azimio coalition represents the diversity of our great nation and the multiplicity of the interests that comprise it. And yet Kenyans and entertain a Faustian bargain. Unfortunately, today all I have are questions and very few answers. But I would like to end on the following words. What good will it be for a man if he gains the whole world, yet forfeits his soul?
Wow.
Words to think on.
Wow.
Now, before I share with you the criteria that we use to look through our headlines, allow me to remind you, just in case you've forgotten. In the Daily Nation, their pain points. The Standard, myth of youth vote unmasked. The Star, RUTO calls crisis talks to reconcile feuding partners, and the People Daily, battle for 22 million voters begins. Now, as you know, we have a three-part criteria that we use to judge the headlines. We ask ourselves three questions. Is the headline topical, or speculative, repetitive, or groundbreaking, thoughtful, or just plain lazy? What are you guys thinking about our headlines today?
You know, let me be honest, my mind is being taken to the Star, but
For real?
not necessarily because the headline is very wow, but because when I read it, all that came into my head is, and now the cookie crumbles. That's all that came into my head.
But I mean, I respectfully disagree. It's kind of ironic going to the same people who hurt you for salvation and expecting them to be fair, and they're the ones causing you pain.
It's not possible.
It
doesn't make sense.
All right, so why don't we bank the Star for a moment, and why don't we consider the Standard? I'm quite finding it very interesting, the myth of the youth vote unmasked.
Yeah.
What are you guys' thoughts?
Actually, it's true. Most young people do not vote. Actually, they're hustlers. Most of them, I think, don't have IDs. And it depends. On the morning of voting, where will they be? Will they be drunk somewhere in the beach? I don't know.
GK, what are your thoughts?
I think it's been well touched on.
Okay, so we can agree that from the jump, the Daily Nation should be dismissed because having read the article, it does not speak to pain points necessarily, and I feel like
misleading.
Yeah, it's misleading.
It's unclear,
And the People Daily, battle for 22 million votes begins.
For me, when I read that thing, I was like, and then this battle has been on for at least a couple of weeks now. So. And the 22 million voters is the entire field of voters.
When that's not how many people might actually show up to vote.
But I guess they were going for a catchy headline.
So if the Daily Nation and the People Daily are to be dismissed, we now have to consider the Standard and the Star. Which one?
I won't lie.
You're still for the Star?
No. The only reason I liked the Star was because it made me think of cookies crumbling. I think I would be willing to bargain and let the Star go, and I'm fine with the Standard.
All right. Okay. Do we have a consensus? Is the Standard our winning headline?
Yes, it's fine.
Okay, there you have it. We have Standard as our winning headline. Now, onto the political pieces that we call cartoons in this country. We have a three-part criteria that we use to break down the cartoons for you. We ask ourselves, are the cartoons humorous or dry, satirical or pessimistic, effective or just plain lazy? Serbia, why don't you start us off with the Daily Nation?
Okay, so we have a caricature. The cartoon depicts two men, I think, going around a revolving door. One has the head of a virus. The context is because Kagwe yesterday reintroduced the mask mandate.
Yes.
The positivity rate now is 12.6%.
Yes.
So I think this is a never-ending cycle of infection, reinfection. And of course, people became careless and reckless after the mask mandate was lifted.
We all did.
We all did.
Except myself.
Alright.
Wow.
Then I will take the standard. So in the standard cartoon today, you see a depiction of Chebukati and Wanjiku in the middle of an interaction. Chebukati looks as if he's been caught with his hand in the cookie jar, you know, to continue the thought on cookies. And his expression on his face is one of shock and surprise. Meanwhile, Wanjiku looks displeased and she says, now that the dust has settled, we would like to authenticate your degree certificate. No doubt these words are the cause for Chebukati's alarm. Now Gado's little man in the corner says, and those of the, rather adds on, and those of the entire IBC team. What do you guys think of this cartoon?
Well, it's trying to continue to push that the narrative of degrees, which has been on our TV screens for the last 2 weeks, almost non-stop. And it is an interesting question, asking about the qualifications of the IBC and what they serve. But I'm not drawn to it.
Okay.
I don't know if there's Serbia, if you feel anything
I
towards
don't know. Why does Chebukati look like a zombie? I mean,
They didn't draw him very well.
That his term is expired or something.
Maybe.
Potentially.
I think we're overreading into it.
Or maybe he needs a better skincare regimen. I don't know. Now, we have one last cartoon, Serbia. Why don't... No, sorry, GK. Why don't you finish us off with the star?
Okay, so you have our health CS, Super CS, Mr. Mutahi Kagwe. He's standing in front of Kenyans, some with hats. Everyone is coughing. Everyone is sneezing. People are, at least some people are here holding their handkerchiefs. Others are just coughing onto their hands. They've forgotten the COVID rules. And then the tagline there is fellow Kenyans. Keeping in line with the Daily Nation that Serbia spoke about. This is just about COVID is back. Some of us had really forgotten that it existed. It was not really gone, but some of us had really enjoyed life. And unfortunately, we've been told you've enjoyed too much of the life. Now we've got to be careful again.
So in fact, I actually do want to give some context to the fellow Kenyans thing, right? Because on rather KOT really believes that whenever the president says fellow Kenyans, country's about to go into lockdown. that's why it says fellow Kenyans. Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, so we have our 3 cartoons. Are you guys feeling any, or should we just say no winning cartoon?
I think they all go to the dustbin.
Yeah,
I'm very okay with that. No love lost.
No love lost there.
Okay, so we have no winning cartoon. Now, on a day where we've had the standard as our winning headline and no winning cartoon, please do not forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are also on your TV screens. You can find us on Pang Free to Air, GoTV, and Star Times. And to end, I would like to leave you with this quote from Robert Greene. He says, and I quote, "Lord, protect me from my friends. I can take care of my enemies."
Absolutely.
Have a lovely evening. Bye-bye.
God bless.